Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Isn't that why you're here?
Dixie Parlay Fair, live from Playing with the House Money, where we have done so much with so little for so long that it seems we can do anything with nothing at all in no time flat. Now let's get to the money. Here is your not-so-early analysis of all Week 0 college football games. Let the fun begin. We'll start with Iowa State and K-State playing in Dublin, Ireland. This line opened up at Iowa State minus 2.5 and now has a 6-point swing with K-State minus 3.5. Iowa State has basically owned K-State in this matchup for the last 5 years, going 4-1 straight up and 3-1 ATS. Iowa State brings back 13 starters led by their do-it-all quarterback, Rocco Becht. Last year, Becht hit 59% of his passes for 29 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, while adding 8 rushing touchdowns and 318 rushing yards. The defense is led by preseason Jim Thorpe, Award Watch List finalist, 6', 190-pound safety Jeremiah Cooper, and 6'2", 305-pound defensive tackle Dominique Orange. Last year, Iowa State won this game 29-21. Other hand, K-State will counter with 10 returning starters led by their preseason All-American quarterback finalist Avery Johnson, a junior who last year passed for 2,700 yards with 25 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. They do lose running back Gideons, who gained almost 1,400 yards last year. They retain a strong receiving core, led by former Texas Tech and Boston College wide receiver Duran Bradley, who is coupled with 6'5", 120-pound preseason #1 freshman tight end Lincoln Cure. The defense goes from having 8 returning starters to just 5. The defensive line, linebackers, and safety should be pretty solid, but starting out in another country might be a little too much to overcome. I look for this game to definitely go over the total, and I look for this game to be one and the same. Iowa State 34, Kansas State 30. UNLV against Idaho State. UNLV surprised everybody last year with an 11-3 record. That's the best record they had since Randall Cunningham. This year, UNLV loses their head coach, Odom. They counter that with journeyman coach Dan Mullen. He coached at Mississippi State, Florida. He's pretty much known for his offense. UNLV only returns 5 starters, 3 offensive and 2 on defense. Dan Mullen did bring in a bevy of Power 4 talent to strengthen this team. Mullen is known for offensive expertise. They will be trying to decide on either quarterback Anthony Colandrea, who started 17 games for Virginia. He threw for like 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns with 20 interceptions. Alex Orji from Michigan. They do bring back their second best running back from last year, Jaden Thomas. He ran for 503 yards, and they also add Kayvon Lee from Mississippi State and Jalen Glover. They lost their 4 top wide receivers, so it remains to be seen if they can recover from losing so much. One that I really like is Troy O'Meara, a 6', 225-pound receiver. The defense is going to be led by 6'5", 300-pound defensive tackle Lucas Conte. I think Dan Mullen should do pretty good. He has one out-of-conference game against UCLA and in conference Boise State. Now a look at Idaho State, who last year had an overall record of 5-7. Idaho State brings in quarterback Wyatt Horton, a freshman who was one of Arizona's high school standouts with over 8,000 passing yards and 1,500 rushing yards in his career. They also bring in Logan Gonzalez from San Jacinto College, where he passed for 3,100 yards and 25 touchdowns. They do lose their best player, Logan, who signed with Ohio State. They're bringing a couple of receivers, Jonah Burton from Baylor, Giovanni Garcia from UT. There's no way I can see him fall to a FCS team. In his first game back as a collegiate coach, Idaho State had a large amount of players that went in the portal to Division I schools. They got a few back, but I think talent-wise it's not going to be close. I think they'll have nuts hanging down in front of their face mask the whole game. UNLV stays on top of that head. Final score, UNLV 51, Idaho State 17. They cover, and it goes over the total. Fortunately, at Playing with the House Money, we might be able to help you, which is Sex Life. But for the time being, what we can do is give you information so, like us, you won't just make bets, you'll make informed decisions. UNLV 51, Idaho State 17. Just in case you have any trouble following with me, the odds list that covers, I'm going game for game. That's just in case you were following me. Looking at Kansas and Fresno State. Kansas is a 13.5-point favorite with a total of 51.5. This is of August 3rd, 2025 Kansas. And Coach Lance Leipold, lead by senior quarterback Jalen Daniels, returns 5 on offense and 5 on defense. Daniels has had previous success, but last year just wasn't so good. Only 2,400 passing yards, 14 touchdowns with 12 interceptions. This year, he loses his main running back, Neal, who gave him 1,200 yards last year, and 6 of his top wide receivers, along with 3 offensive linemen. That might be maybe a little too much to replace. I don't know. Kansas rebuilds. They don't reload. You know how it is in the transfer portal era. It's whoever has the biggest bag. Last year, the Jayhawks averaged 29 points a game on offense, and the defense gave up 26 yards a game. They were 1-6 out of the gate, and then went 4-2 down the stretch with wins over Iowa State, BYU, and Colorado, which is some good momentum going into the offseason, but they lost the last game to Baylor, 45-17. On the other side, we have Fresno State Bulldogs, led by first-year coach Matt Entz. He came over from North Dakota State, where he was 60-11 in 4 years, 9 returning starters on offense and 4 on defense. He's serviced by QB E.J. Warner, none other than son of famous quarterback Kurt Warner, previously of Temple and Rice. Last year, Warner threw for 2,700 yards, 17 touchdowns, carried by 12 interceptions, mediocre play, even by college standards. And I just want to say, I'm really not a fan of E.J. He's shown some flashes, as all bum quarterbacks do. They add in running back Rayshawn Speedy Luke from Arizona and receivers Josiah Aon, who had 651 yards last year and averaged 14 yards a catch at Western Colorado. On defense, they also have a new defense coordinator, former Northern Illinois defensive coordinator Nick Benedetto, whose Northern Illinois defense was the lone FBS team to not allow 400 yards in a game. While just giving up an average of 285 yards, Entz likes to run the ball, so with a slow, methodical approach, the defense should have more time to gel. Entz led North Dakota State to a 16-0 record with a national title in his first year there, with 2 titles overall. He brought some quality transfers with him, but not as many as your typical head coach changing teams in the portal era. He got the team big and strong in the spring and will have a solid defense with a more run-oriented offense. This will be the first time that these 2 teams have ever met. I think Coach Entz and Fresno State has enough to keep this game relatively close. My score prediction in this game will be Kansas 38, Fresno State 26. Next on the football docket, Western Kentucky against Sam Houston State. So the spread looks like Western Kentucky minus 9.5 with a very high total of 60.5. I try to start with the favorites first in every analysis, so that's how we'll keep beating the block. The Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, who have been an 8 or 9 win team the last 4 years, this year, they only bring back 2 starters on offense and 4 starters on defense. This year, they will be starting with a new offensive coordinator, Rick Bowie, who brings along his FCS top-ranked quarterback, Maverick McIver, who last year at Abilene Christian spearhead an offense that averaged 473 yards and 34 points a game. In 2021, Western Kentucky's coach Tyson Hilton brought in a FCS offensive coordinator and QB and had an offense that averaged 521 yards and 42 points a game. He'll be trying to catch lightning in a bottle again. McIver should have some really good targets at receiver. Heading this group will be 2 seniors and a junior. Katie Hutchinson, Kelby Williams, and Matthew Henry all averaged at least 15 yards a catch last year. Sam Houston State has only been in the FBS for 2 years. This will be a 3rd year, and they're already fielding a new coach in Phil Longo. Longo was the offensive coordinator here at Sam Houston State in 2016 when they averaged 547 yards a game and went 12-1 that year. Last year, he was offensive coordinator at Wisconsin. This year, he only has 8 starters back from last year's 10-3 team. He retained quarterback Hunter Watson, who won a JUCO national title and last year passed for only 1,800 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. The defense was decimated by transfers. What they will have is a very up-tempo offense with a defense that has to try to play catch-up as the season goes along. With the first-year coach, a new offensive system, no returning staters on defense, I think that the season will start pretty slow for Sam Houston State. Therefore, I'll be taking Western Kentucky minus 9.5, under 61.5. Last year, the score was 31-14. I think it'll be somewhat of the same. Western Kentucky 31, Sam Houston State 14. Come on, man. We got a long way to go. We got to keep this train rolling. Unfortunately, I have to admit, most of these FBS, FCS matchups I won't be able to analyze because, as you know, it's hard to get the lines. They don't really like to line these games until the day of the game because then you can take advantage of these mismatches, especially in parlays. Next game is this Hawaii versus Stanford. From some information that my main man, Big Money AL, brought to my attention, Stanford was a 9.5-point favorite on the early look-ahead line. Now, all of a sudden, after losing their coach, Troy Taylor, in March for bullying female staffers, Mishtai, you tell me, should that make Hawaii a favorite? As of right now, the line is Hawaii minus 1.5 with a total of 53.5. After Troy Taylor's firing, GM Andrew Luck made Frank Reich the interim head coach for 2025. We all know Frank Reich from his NFL coaching stint with the Indianapolis Colts and the Carolina Panthers. Personally, I don't think he's a good coach, but it doesn't take that much to beat Hawaii, in my opinion. Stanford finished the season 3-9 last year after starting out 2-1 and losing 8 of the last 9 games. Frank Reich will inherit a team that returns 14 starters, 6 on offense and 8 on defense. Stanford didn't really start out that bad last year. The first game against TCU, they covered getting 8 points at home, losing by 7. Of course, they blowed out Cal Poly. But then they went and played a good Syracuse team at Syracuse and won by 2 while getting 8. After that, it was all downhill. The wheels just fell off the rims. They were actually just running on the frame. It seems like to me they didn't buy into the coach. Stanford's offense will be ran by either Elijah Brown, a redshirt freshman, or Ben Gobranson, who was 7-1 as starter for Oregon State in 2022. They have a new offensive coordinator in Nate Bynum. They're inexperienced at quarterback and wide receiver. They do return all their running backs from last year. They also added Eastern Washington transfer Tuna Altaher. The wide receivers who most likely will start will be C.J. Williams and Jordan Onuvui. On the defensive side of the ball, they should make some strides. They have most of the core unit returning, and they only face 2 experienced quarterbacks who are back on the same team. Hawaii, on the other hand, has coach Timmy Chang, who was a quarterback at his alma mater, back for his 4th season after 5-7 campaign. This time, Chang has 15 starters returning, 6 on offense and 9 on defense. The offense will be led by Micah Alejado, who had a good finish last year down the stretch. Alejado is a lefty with good arm strength, a quick release, and high football IQ. He will be flanked by a couple of veteran wide receivers, Pofele Ashlock, a 6'2", 180-pound junior who started 11 games last year with 629 yards receiving, and Nick Senecal, a 6'2", 190-pound receiver with 9 starts and 721 receiving yards last year. On the defensive side of the ball, this is defensive coordinator's Dennis Thurman's 2nd year. Hawaii really wasn't that bad last year on defense. They only allowed 26 points a game. Hawaii has lost 3 of their last 4 opening season games, albeit 2 were against Vanderbilt, 1 against UCLA, and the lone winner was last year against Delaware State. Hawaii hasn't had a winning record in the last 5 years, and once again I look for more of the same. I think that Stanford can make the best of this bum versus bum bowl. Favorite motto here at Playing with the House Money: one bum can give another bum nothing. What the fuck is he going to give him? Shoes with a hole in it, a worn sweater, some pissy pajamas? So I look for Stanford in an easy win, of course, and we'll take the money line, which there's no value in taking the points, but I look for a Stanford 35, Hawaii 28 win. Stanford 35, Hawaii 28.